Gobbolino the Witch's Cat, Chapter 1. Gobbolino in Disgrace. One fine moonlit night, little Gobbolino, the witch's kitten, and his sister, Sutica, tumbled out of the cavern where they had been born, to play a cat and catch a mouse among the creeping shadows. It was the first time they had left the cavern, and their round eyes were full of wonder and excitement at everything they saw. Every leaf that blew, every dewdrop that glittered, every rustle in the forest around them set their furry black ears a-prick. "Did you hear that, brother? Did you see that, sister? I saw that, and that, and that, and that." When they were tired of playing, they sat side by side in the moonlight, talking and quarreling a little, as witches' kittens will. "What will you be when you grow up?" Gobbolino asked, as the moon began to sink behind the mountains and the cocks crowed down in the valley. "Oh, I'll be a witch's cat like my ma," said Sutica. "I'll know all the book of magic off by heart, and learn to ride a broomstick, and turn mice into frogs, and frogs into guinea pigs. I'll fly down the clouds on the night wind with the bats and the barn owls, saying meow. So when people hear me coming, they'll say, 'Hush, there goes Sutica, the witch's cat.'" Gobbolino was very silent when he heard his sister's fiery words. "And what will you be, brother?" asked Sutica. "I'll be a kitchen cat," said Gobbolino. "I'll sit by the fire with my paws tucked under my chest and sing like the kettle on the hob. When the children come in from school, they'll pull my ears and tickle me under the chin and coax me around the kitchen with the cotton reel. I'll mind the house and keep down the mice and watch the baby, and when all the children are in bed, I'll creep on my missus' lap while she darns the stockings and the master nods in his chair. I'll stay with them forever and ever, and they'll call me Gobbolino the kitchen cat." "Don't you want to be bad?" Sutica asked him in great surprise. "No," said Gobbolino. "I want to be good and have people love me. People don't love witches' cats. They are too disagreeable." He licked his paw and began to wash his face, while his sister scowled at him, and was just about to trot in and find their mother, when a ray of moonlight falling across both kittens set her fur standing on end with rage and fear. "Brother, brother, one of your paws is white." In the deeps of the witch's cavern, no one had noticed that little Gobbolino had been born with a white front paw. Everyone knows this is quite wrong for witches' kittens, which are black all over from head to foot. But now the moonbeam lit up a pure white sock, with 5 pink pads beneath it, while the kitten's coat, instead of being jet black like his sister's, had a faint sheen of tabby, and his lovely round eyes were blue. All witches' kittens were born with green eyes. No wonder that little Sutica flew into the cavern with cries of distress to tell her mother all about it. "Ma, ma, our Gobbolino has a white sock. He has blue eyes. His coat is tabby, not black, and he wants to be a kitchen cat." The kitten's cries brought her mother, Grimalkin, to the door of the cavern. Their mistress, the witch, was not far behind her, and in less time than it takes to tell, they had knocked the unhappy Gobbolino head over heels, set him on his feet again, cuffed his ears, tweaked his tail, bounced him, bullied him, and so bewildered him that he could only stare stupidly at them, blinking his beautiful eyes as if he could not imagine what they were so angry about. At last Grimalkin picked him up by the scruff of his neck and dropped him in the darkest, dampest corner of the cavern among the witch's tame toads. Gobbolino was afraid of the toads and shivered and shook all night. Chapter 2. Gobbolino is left alone. In the morning, Gobbolino heard the witch talking things over with his mother. "I think we ought to apprentice the kittens very quickly," she said. "There is Sutica, who is eager to learn and will make a clever little cat, while the sooner the nonsense is knocked out of her brother's head, the better." So when the moon rose round and full, the witch and her cat mounted their broomstick with the 2 young kittens in a bag slung behind them, and sailed away over the mountains to apprentice them to other witches, for that is the way to train a witch's cat. They flew so fast, that little Gobbolino, peeping through a hole in the sack, saw the stars of the Milky Way flutter past him like a shower of diamonds, so fast that the bats they overtook seemed to lumber along like clumsy elephants. It made him dizzy to look below him at the sleeping hills and rivers, the chasms and lakes, the watchful mountains and brooding cities. Little Sudica mewed for joy at their wild and giddy flight, but Gobbolino shivered at the bottom of the sack, while tears of terror dropped on his white front paw. "Oh, please stop! Oh, please, please, please!" he sobbed, but nobody paid any attention to him. At last, with a glorious swoop, like the dive of a wild sea-bird, the witch and her broomstick came back down on the Hurricane Mountains, where lived a hideous witch who agreed almost at once to take little Sudica into her cabin and train her as a witch's cat. The little kitten was so overjoyed she could hardly stop to say goodbye to her little brother. She was so eager to begin learning how to turn people into toads and frogs and other disagreeable objects. Gobbolino cried a little at parting with his playmate, but the witch quite refused to take him with his sister. "A witch's cat with a white paw? Ho, ho, ho," she croaked. "You'll never get rid of that one." So Gobbolino rode away on the broomstick once more, behind his mother Grimalkin and her mistress. And although they visited 50 or more caverns, before the dawn broke over the Hurricane Mountains, not a witch would look twice at the kitten with the white paw and the beautiful blue eyes. So they flew home again and flung Gobbolino into the cavern among the toads, and there he stayed day after day, till one fine morning he woke up and found himself all alone. The witch had gone, and Grimalkin too. The cauldron, the book of spells, the toads, the foxes, the magic herbs, the brews, the broomstick, everything that once had made magic, they had all flown away and deserted him forever. Chapter 3. Gobbolino Finds a Home. The witch and her cat Grimalkin had been so unkind to him that little Gobbolino was not sorry to be without them. But all the same, it is a terrible thing for so young a kitten to be left all alone, and he spent some hours at the door of the cavern, crying bitterly and wondering what was to become of him. "Suppose they never come back," sobbed Gobbolino. "Oh, what shall I do? What shall I do?" But at last the idea came to him that if his mother Grimalkin and her mistress the witch had really left him for good, there was no need for him to stay in the cavern and be a witch's cat any longer. He could go out into the world whenever he pleased and find a happy home to live in forever and ever. When this happy idea had struck little Gobbolino, he stopped crying immediately and began to look around him. The witch's cavern was on the edge of a forest, but not very far away were fields and woods and a river, and beyond these must be houses and farms and cities, such as which he had seen from his ride on the witch's broomstick. Surely somewhere there must be a comfortable hearth and kind people, willing to offer a happy home to a little cat. Gobbolino washed his face, and then his coat and paws, and very carefully left the cavern forever. He trotted through the fields, feeling very bold and brave, till the forest was out of sight behind him. And there, in front of the river, winding its way in and out of the reeds and shallows, bubbling and churning like the spell water in the witch's cauldron, or flowing smoothly with bright fishes in it that caught little Gobbolino's hungry eye, and made his mouth water. He had nothing to eat the whole day long, and the sight of those bright fishes reminded him how hungry he was. "Never mind," said Gobbolino. "Presently I shall come to find a big, fine farmhouse, with a fine big kitchen, where they will invite me in and give me a saucer of milk and a corner by the fire. Then they will ask me to live with them forever and ever. Gobbolino, the kitchen cat." As he said this, he thought of his little sister Sudica, apprenticed to the witch high up on the Hurricane Mountains, and he began to cry again. But after all, it was what she had wished for, so there was no more to be said about it. Presently Gobbolino met a little bridge that crossed the river from bank to bank. It was a very narrow bridge, no more than a plank, and so low over the water that the little cat could touch the ripples with his paw as they passed beneath it. He thought he might catch a fish this way, so he settled himself in the middle of the plank and waited until one of the beautiful creatures should come swimming by. Before long, a lovely trout dressed in pink and gold and blue swam slowly down the stream towards him. Little Gobbolino trembled with excitement and waited for it to pass beneath the plank. He stretched out his paw at the same moment as the trout saw him and flashed by with a scornful swish of his tail. The little cat made one wild grab after it, reached too far, overbalanced, and tumbled head over heels into the water. There was a terrible splash and commotion as he thought he was drowning, and then Gobbolino began to swim. He swam and swam as the river carried him swiftly downstream, far from the forest and the cavern where he was born. He swam till the river ran into farmland, towards a great mill where the mill wheel waited to churn Gobbolino into 1,000 bits. The little cat did not know his danger, and it was lucky for him that the children of the farm were playing on the river bank just above the mill stream. "Look, look!" they cried to one another. "Here comes a kitten swimming for its life." "It will get caught in the mill wheel," said one of the little girls. "Quick, quick, and get it out." Her brothers ran to get a stick and fished out Gobbolino as they might have fished out a plum out of one of their mother's pies. "What a black coat he has," they said. "It's almost tabby," said the little girls. "And what bright eyes," said their brothers. "They are beautiful blue," said the little girls. "He has 3 black paws," said the boys. "But one is pure white," said the girls. They took Gobbolino into the farm to show him to their mother. The farm was fine and big, and it was the kind of kitchen Gobbolino had dreamed of. There were red stone tiles and bright pots and pans sitting on the shelves all the way around the room. There was a blazing fire in the hearth and a kettle singing on the hob. There was a baby in a cradle that rocked as the mother pushed it gently to and fro. "Oh, what a lucky cat I am," he said to himself, in spite of his weariness and cold. "Here is the first house I come to, the home of my dreams. A friendly roof, a good fire, a worthy mother, and kind-hearted children. Now I can settle down happily and be a plain little kitchen cat forever and ever." The farmer's wife took Gobbolino on her lap and wiped his wet fur with a warm cloth. "And where do you come from, my little cat?" she asked him kindly. "How did you come to fall into that terrible mill stream? Don't you know you might have been drowned?" "Yes, ma'am," replied Gobbolino gratefully. "I fell in catching fishes. I come from the cavern in the forest up yonder, and the river brought me down here." When his fur was dry, the farmer's wife gave him a good drink of warm milk, and while she went out to milk the cows, he amused the children and the baby by all kinds of strange tricks that every witch's kitten knows by heart. He made blue sparks come out of his whiskers and red ones out of his nose. He became invisible and then visible again, and hid himself in all kinds of strange places for them to find him again and again, in the cuckoo clock, in a teacup, in the farmer's shoe, till the children were tired of laughter and begged him to be quiet and give them a little peace. In the middle of all this, the farmer himself came in to tea. He kissed the children all round, but when he saw Gobbolino at his tricks, he suddenly became very grave, and soon shooed them all off to bed in a hurry, while the little cat curled himself up in a wooden box under the kitchen table that the farmer's wife herself had provided for him there. "What a lucky cat I am," he said, as he tucked away his 3 black paws and the white one and closed his beautiful blue eyes. "Now my troubles are over for ever and ever. I am Gobbolino the kitchen cat."